Dr. Feistel, you had a near-death experience when your second daughter was born. Can you tell me how that happened? There was a uterine rupture and nobody knows why. I fell into a dark spiral and woke up in the intensive care unit, and I was in dreadful pain and connected to infusion tubings and all the rest. Then, after some time, I simply asked, "Is the child okay?" And I was told that it was. Then after a while, suddenly, I saw my surroundings as if they were congealed into an image, and I realized that I could no longer breathe. The surroundings seemed to me as if frozen, and I saw the anesthetist with the towering coiffure of her dark hair congealed in an image standing before me, and suddenly I felt free and light, and all of a sudden I hovered over the hospital bed, farther to the right. And then I saw myself lying down on the bed, and at that moment I had a fantastic perception of this freedom, this limitlessness, this absence of any contours, this lightness. It was indescribable. This lightness in particular was really indescribable. Space and time no longer existed. There was no pain either. There was nothing. Just crystalline light in the unity of nothingness. Crystal light in the nothing. Exactly, that was it. Just like that. And when I was there in this height, above, looking down on my bed, I was shown my film of life in the form of small spiral pictures. These were pictures when I, as a girl, as a 6-year-old girl, was balancing on a water basin in the forester's home. I also saw pictures of my family and of my school, and also pictures of my school days in the Spessart, pictures of my grammar school in the city where my school was, pictures of my studies and graduation, as well as of my wedding. And then the film of life ended with the birth which brought on this experience. I think I could accept everything as it was. Then, suddenly, I went further to the right, where I found myself in front of a huge open gate, a huge gold metallic gate that was open. And I sat myself on top of it, climbing about, back and forth, and then, suddenly, over there, an angel stood opposite me, and this angel was holding a trumpet. He said nothing, and when I continued climbing about, back and forth, he stretched out his arm, and I shook hands with him, and went along with him, and then something happened that for 15 years I have forgotten, namely, that it was he who led me back into my body. And then I was back on earth, and it all started again, the pain and so on. Well, that was my experience. And at that point, this experience became a frozen image. It was always very close at first, and to this day, the frozen image is still there, always a little further to my left, and if I am feeling good, it is further away, and if I am not so well, it is closer, but it has never gone away. This picture, how can one imagine that? What do you see in it? I can paint it. In this picture, I see the bed my body is lying on, whereas I myself am sitting up there on the left, in the air, being part of it, not knowing who I am. Physically, I don't see myself. All I know is that I am up there, but then I see myself as close to this tunnel, and then opposite, I face this angel, just as I see him now, at this very moment, how he is leading me back to my bed that is there in the rear. Can you describe this angel in more detail? That is the thing that I have often thought about. The angel can hardly be described. It is just a figure. It is a figure wearing white garments, as we know it from childhood. However, I have not yet grasped the meaning of this angel's trumpet. I haven't seen a face either. Nothing. But actually, the angel is nothing but light. Strictly speaking, an angel is consisting of pure light, maybe with some vague contours of a human figure. You said you were there at a golden gate that was open. Can you describe this open gate in more detail? Of course, and above all, I understood the meaning of it. It was like a big tuba. It was the access of a tunnel through which I could have moved to the other side. I became well aware of this later on. That was the moment, well actually, I was always wondering why I was climbing about like that. One time being outside, the special opening of that golden gate, and then inside again, then again feet outside. And so it went on for quite a while. And then, when the angel came, I returned to my body. Dr. Feistel, did you hear anything when you were outside your earthly body? Yes, when I was sitting on top of this open gate, this golden gate, I suddenly heard, I first saw this pink and violet light. The white had changed into pink, violet, light green, white, blue, and then it became golden. And thereafter, I heard some kind of spherical sounds and a music that I cannot define. So I can't say now it was a music that I've heard a lot, for example Mozart or something less similar. This was not the case. It rather was a soft and tender music, a music intensifying this shelteredness in God, even this love, in a way as if music was love per se. That is what was remarkable too. This music simply intensified. The light and the shelteredness, comparable to a bed wrapped in soft wadding, a virtual bed where one could lie really comfortably. And of course, I later took advantage of this bed when the world was no longer bearable for me. And as it is in the nature of things, nobody was ever able to know about it. So I entered this world, and then I sank happily down into this bed, down into this realm without shapes. So this was a cloudless, infinite world without shapes, and I was really very well embedded in it. Then came the breath of this music caressing me. The colors then vanished again. Then there was only still the light. Everything was just only in the light. What were the effects of this near-death experience on your future life? It was a difficult thing, a very, very difficult matter. This near-death experience made me an outcast. I was an isolated woman. After this experience, I couldn't articulate myself at all. I had 2 small children and was in a state of shock that definitely lasted about half a year. Every time when I came back home then, and that was over there at the time, around the corner, there was always a distance between me and everything else, also my children, as if I was wrapped up in a layer of wadding or something similar. I functioned well, that was not the problem, but I wasn't really present, and I couldn't articulate myself either. Nothing at all. I was always nice and friendly, but I couldn't articulate myself. This state of shock and this isolation were terrible, and yet, on the other hand, my worldview then changed completely. And this happened all by itself. Every flower, for example, a yellow flower, was much more intensely yellow than before. I could perceive every shape more intensely, every feeling. I have always been open toward feelings, and now I was developing my feelings much faster. I grasped every situation more quickly. I could see through every person faster. Unfortunately, that was sometimes not so good. I could also make immediate and precise diagnoses, which just fell into my lap, thus giving evidence that I was well suited to being a doctor. And the ability of what people usually call clairvoyance has become much stronger, also during the first 6 months after this experience. And this made life with the people around me extremely difficult. And if anyone got close to me, even my partner, and wanted to talk to me, I was often away, out of my body. Nothing was possible, but not a problem for me. I then simply left the scene and went to the place where I felt sheltered in my crystal clear silence, in my lightness, in my light. So I used to go there, and there I then used to stay. That's my I am, where I stay, which wasn't so good for relationships. So maybe I hurt some people's feelings because nobody could guess this beforehand from my outward appearance. Also because I was a woman who could smile. Well, that was it, and that was not very good. And it took a while. It took definitely half a year, this state of shock. And then somehow life was awakening within me because I thought, I can't go on like this. Something has to happen. It just can't go on that way. My children, my marriage. I cannot bear this situation anymore. So I spoke to my husband and said, listen, I think I have to start working again. And he agreed, because he realized that it was not acceptable to go on like this. Also, in view of the fact that I could not afford any therapy, that wasn't my ultimate goal either. All I wanted to know was, why did this uterine rupture happen to me? So what does one do then? I then asked, can I apply somewhere here at the clinic, despite having 2 small children? I received the reply from my collaboration partner that he would put his job on hold to some extent so that it would be possible to respond to my concern. Then I applied for a job at the gynecological clinic and actually got a job and trained as a specialist. Normally, you would never be able to accomplish all this. 10 nights on duty, 2 small children. So I did not sleep at night. I performed surgery and also managed everything else. So everything was fine, and that was necessary in order to survive, if I can put it like that. I have supervised the cancer ward for years, and without the path to spirituality, which spontaneously offered itself, I would not have survived this. I would have died of it. And I did not develop voluntarily, but I was compelled to do so. And that's what is also described in this booklet. I had to develop myself. You understand, I had to critically assess my own deficits. I had to develop myself, and this would not have been possible in another way. The near-death experience that came suddenly, and which was very hard, only gave me the opportunity either to develop further or to die. I have embraced the beautiful but hard path and have felt rewarded for about 10 years, so that I can live very well in real life without major problems, sensing very consciously my state of being. I have freed myself from the interference of other people's opinions. I have been able to immerse myself in simplicity and to be careful of being biased toward anything. And the more you practice this, the more it becomes a natural component of your life. I no longer want to dominate anybody, nor do I want to impose anything on anybody. So I don't want anything to be imposed on me either. And I have also learned to distance myself from being victimized. I don't expect more, but maybe also living freely. But I also understood that you never get to the end. And that is one of the most important insights. And even in view of letting go, when you sometimes think you let go of everything, another problem comes back that has to be solved. But over time, it becomes easier to cope. But without becoming knowledgeable about spirituality, I would not have been able to do it. Many mystics have crossed my path, and every one of them shared with me something of his own great knowledge and wisdom, and I will be loyal to this until the end of my life. Dr. Feistel, thank you very much for the interview, and a big thanks also to you.